Hey everyone, it's Becky from Book Obsessed Becky. I'm coming at you with my March wrap up. And I apologize right now because I may be a bit scattered. Last week I didn't post a video because I was down out with a fever and a nasty cold. Well, the fever is gone, but the cold is still there. So I have cold medicine in me right now. And honestly, I'm not very prepared for the video. But I didn't want to go another week without posting a video. So I'm gonna do this. And hopefully it goes okay. So I've got my computer here because I read a lot this month on my Kindle and I don't have the books like here with me at the moment, so I'll insert pictures. And the first book I read was an arc and it was called, let me get to my thing here. It was called Finlay Donovan Rolls the Dice. And it was book 4 in the series. So I don't want to talk about that book because I don't want to spoil anything. So I will let you know what Finlay Donovan is Killing It is about, which is book 1 in the series. And Goodreads says, getting the job done for one single mom takes a whole new meaning and Finlay Donovan is killing it. Finlay Donovan is killing it, except she's really not. She's stressed out single mom of 2, struggling novelist. Finlay's life is in the book. She promised her literary agent isn't writing. That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. Finlay's life is in the new book. She promised her literary agent isn't written. Her ex-husband fired her nanny without telling her. And this morning she had to send her 4-year-old to school with hair duct taped to her head after an incident with scissors. When Finlay is overheard discussing the plot of a new suspense novel with her agent over lunch, she's mistaken for a contract killer and inadvertently accepts an offer to dispose of a problem husband in order to make ends meet. Soon, Finlay discovers that crime in real life is a lot more difficult than it is in a fictional counterpart, as she becomes tangled in a real-life murder investigation. Fast-paced, deliciously witty, and wholeheartedly authentic in depicting the frustrations and triumphs of motherhood in all of its messiness, hilarity, and heartfelt moment. Finlay Donovan is Killing It is the first in a brilliant new series by Elle Cosimano. So I've loved this series so far, and in each book you're following the same characters. You're following Finlay and Vero. Vero is the nanny. The 2 kids. Then you follow her ex-husband, Stephen, I think is his name. And of course there's the mother in there, like Finlay's mom and dad and her sister Georgia. And the police detectives and of course all the bad guys. And really it's just such a funny series. I absolutely love it. And the 4th book in this series is no different. I flew through it. I laughed. I loved every bit of it. So that is the first book that I had read in the month of March. The second book is a book that I read called The Life She Wants, and it's by Robyn Carr. And I've never heard of this author, and I didn't even realize that some of her stuff that she's written I actually really like. I think it's called Virgin River, that show. She's the one that wrote that book for that show. And I love that show. So I was very excited to discover this when I finished the book, The Life She Wants, because I was like, oh my goodness, I bet she's got all kinds of stuff. And she's got a huge backlist. So The Life She Wants is about a woman. You follow her and her best friend growing up. And her name is Emma and her best friend's name is Riley. Emma is like the only child. She lives with her dad. Her mom had passed away when she was young. Her dad marries a woman who has 2 daughters. I think 2 daughters. Or no, 1 daughter. And she's kind of like the evil stepmom. She's not very nice to Emma. So Emma gets a lot of her like family time with her dad, but also a lot with Riley and her family, her mom and her brother. Well, when Emma is a teenager, her dad passes away and her stepmom is just a complete bag. Like, think Cinderella and the evil stepmother and nasty sisters. So Emma's dad and stepmom had a daughter together as well. So that gives Emma 2 siblings, 1 stepsister and 1 half-sister. And the stepmother is super sweet to her kids, but not so nice to Emma. Even after the father died, she just seems to get nastier. So Emma spends a lot of time with Riley and her family. And Emma has a boyfriend named Jacques. And it's the senior year, and Emma graduates. She gets ready to go off to college, and she leaves Emma. No, hold on, I got a cough. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry for the red face, the watery eyes. So Emma heads off to college, and Riley and Jacques stay behind. Well, of course, Riley and Jacques get to know one another a little bit better, and they start sneaking around behind Emma's back, and before you know it, Riley is pregnant with Jacques' baby. So when Emma finds out, of course, that destroys her and Riley's friendship, and it obviously destroys her and Jacques' relationship. Years down the road, Emma marries a man, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a very, I keep looking down because my notebook's down here, notes in it. He's a wealthy man in New York City. He's a bit older than her. I want to say like 20 years older, and he is a well-known businessman. I keep looking to see what his name is, and I don't think I wrote it down. Yeah, I didn't write it down. Well, it turns out he's super wealthy, and the reason why he's super wealthy is because he is stealing from his clients. Well, as time goes on, you know, things start to fall apart, and he's discovered, well, he didn't want to go to prison, so he killed himself. That left Emma to deal with all of the police investigation and try to explain that she didn't know what was going on and that she had no part in it. I'm not giving anything away. This is like right in the beginning of the book. And she ends up heading back to her hometown. Well, in doing so, of course, she's got her husband's name, and of course everybody knows her and has seen what has happened. So when she's applying for jobs and things, she's discovered that it's best not to mention her husband, and maybe she'll get a job. Well, she does get jobs, but things always seem to happen, and it leaves her with really one only option left, and that's to contact her ex-best friend Riley, who happens to own a cleaning company that helps struggling women. And yeah, we follow those 2 women as adults and like trying to navigate their relationship after everything that happened in their teen years. We see Emma working to rebuild her life, to find community again. We see her having to deal with her nasty stepmother. And we also discover Riley's like life in there. We learn about her life, and it was really awesome getting to see how she navigated like teen pregnancy and the loss of her best friend and creating her company and everything. And if you really like kind of feel good stories, but there's like depth to them, and friendship and family and starting over and all of that kind of thing, then I think this book would be good. But there are serious trigger warnings in here for suicide, teen suicide attempts, depression. There's spousal abuse. There's cheating boyfriends. There's friendship breakups. Like, there is a lot in this book, but again, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. All right, next on the list, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which is my first ever book by her, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So if you're anything like me and you knew nothing about it, I'll read you the Goodreads blurb. It says, when 19-year-old Huntress Farah kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Farah discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, I don't know how to say his name, Tomlin, transformed from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient wicked shadow is growing, and Pharaoh must find a way to stop it, or doom Tomlin, I don't know, in his world forever. So I really enjoyed this story. Like Goodreads says, you're following a girl named Farah. She's 19. Farah, I think is how you say it. She's 19. She lives with her dad and her 2 sisters, and her mom had passed away. Her dad is disabled. They're poor now. Some things had happened. They lost all kinds of money, so they're poor. And Farah is the one that provides for the family, even though I believe she's the youngest. She's the one that goes out and hunts and everything. And one day she goes into the woods and she spotted a deer that she was going to shoot, but she saw a wolf. And she didn't dare shoot the deer and then have the wolf get it. So she shot both, I believe. And she couldn't take the wolf back with her because it was so huge, but she decided to take his fur so that she could sell the fur, and then she took the deer back with her. Well, one night, like it said, a beast charges into their home and takes her back to the fairy realm, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Beauty and the Beast, where Belle is trapped in the tower and the beast is roaming around. But as you follow along in the story, you discover that's not really so. And but there is a curse that needs to be like broken, and it's kind of up to Farah, I think that's how you say her name. It's up to her to do it anyways, but she doesn't know that there's a curse. Like, she doesn't know it's a curse, but she knows there's something weird going on. Meanwhile, she's getting to know some of the fairy that live in the home, and she's discovering that she kind of likes this world. But everybody is wearing masks and she doesn't get why. But again, that's part of the curse, but she doesn't understand that at the time. And things happen, and evil, like, fairies and creatures creep in to the court that she's in, and she's in grave danger. So the like head fairy guy sends her back to her world, and she just knows that something's not right, and she's not willing to accept it. So she heads back to the fairy world, and the stuff that she gets up to, I couldn't believe it, but I couldn't stop reading it either. I really enjoyed it. So if you like fairies and you like magic and you like kind of like a fairy tale type story with a little bit of Beauty and the Beast vibes, then I think you'll like this. There are trigger warnings though for, I mean, like death and violence and stuff like that. There is a little bit of a spicy scene as well. But again, I really enjoyed this story, and I will be moving on in that series. Okay, next is the book Kayla by Colin Walsh, and I did not like this book. It was a book club pick that I had to read for Lawhon in the Books, and I thought I was gonna like it. I mean, everything points to yes, I would like it. It's supposed to be a thriller. We're following 6 friends in their youth, and I think it's like the early 2000s or something. So we're following them. There's 3 boys and 3 girls, and one girl, Kayla, she's kind of like the head of the clique that they're in. Well, she ends up going missing, and she's 15 years old, and they never discover what happened to her. So then you jump like 15 years later or something, so we're at like 2018 or something like that, and we're following still some of the friends in the group, and there's Mush, that's one of the characters. He ends up staying in the town that they were all living in at the time. He runs a bar, restaurant type place with his mom. Then there's Joe, who once he got out of school, he went to America, became a famous singer. And what is the girl's name? Wow, I'm like blanking. And she's the main girl that we're following too. Helen. Then there's Helen. She ends up going to Canada and she becomes like a freelance journalist type person. Well, her dad, I think it's her dad, and Mush's mom's sister are getting married. So she comes back, and so doesn't Joe, for the wedding. Now, there was another boy that we were following, Aiden, but he ended up killing himself. And there was another girl in there besides Kayla, and I have no idea how to say her name, so I'm not even going to try. But we don't really hear much from her throughout the story, like after Kayla goes missing, really. So these people come back to the town, and things start happening again, and 2 girls end up going missing. And they happen to be twin girls, and they are Mush's cousins, which would have been Aiden's sisters, and it gets people like Helen questioning what happened to Kayla. So you're kind of following along this mystery and trying to discover what happened to Kayla while also finding out where those 2 missing girls went. There is a lot of nasty characters in here. Like, for the most part, the men in this book are abusive and violent, with the exception of Mush. There is animal cruelty in this book. There is violence, like nasty violence in this book. There's gangs. Like, it just was not a book for me. And also, like, so it takes place in Ireland, and I don't know Irish slang. I've never heard Irish slang before. So when I was reading the book, I had a hard time trying to understand what some of the characters were saying, just because it was new to me. So I had to use a lot of context clues to try to figure it out. But if you enjoy thrillers and you don't mind, like, all the trigger warnings, then you may really like this book. It was not a book for me. It did rate pretty high in our book club though. So there is that. So I know people did enjoy it. It wasn't for me. I did like how it jumped from past to present and it followed the same characters throughout. I did enjoy that part. Okay. So another book that I read in March was Starling House, and I listened to this through the through Libby, through my library, and I liked it. I mean, I'd never really read anything like it before, but I saw that, I think it was like a Reese Witherspoon pick or something, so that's why I picked it up, and the cover was really pretty, so that got me too. So we're following Opal, and her mom and her were in an accident when she was a teenager and her mother was killed. They were very poor people, living in a hotel. The mother taught Opal all about stealing and manipulating and lying and all that stuff to get what you want. Well, there's also a little brother in the mix, and once the mother dies, Opal kind of forges some paperwork. She lies about her age so that she can keep her little brother Jasper, and they continue living in the hotel room, like rent-free, because somehow the mother had managed to make it so that the owner of the hotel would let them live there for free. So Opal doesn't have to worry about any rent or anything like that. She just has to worry about taking care of her brother. So she jumps from like dead-end job to dead-end job in this small town, like this run-down town, and she has these dreams about this home, and like in her dreams she's going down hallways and like this house is calling to her, right? Well, the house is Starling House, and Starling House is a home that Arthur lives in, Arthur Starling, and he is the last known heir to the home. He's also the guard guardian of the home, I guess. The home had appeared one day after, what the heck is her name? The author Starling disappeared. This home had come about, and this author had written a book called, what is it called? Something about Underland, or yeah, the Underland. She wrote the book, she illustrated the book, and Opal happened to be obsessed with this book growing up. So anyways, Arthur lived in this home with his family. His parents were killed, and Arthur was brought back home, and his job is to protect the town and the home from these invisible beasts that wander around, and nobody else can see these creatures but him. So everybody thinks that this man is just like a hermit living in his own home, which he is, but he does it because he can't really leave his home. He has to protect his home. And somehow this house keeps reaching out to Opal, and one night she's walking along after work and she heads to the home, and she ends up running into Arthur, who happens to be outside, and he scares her and tells her to run. So she runs back home, but it's still not settling with her. So she goes back a bit later, like a few days later or whatever, and she ends up getting a job there. And when she gets into this home, she absolutely loves this home. She loves working in this home. She's a housekeeper, and she steals things on the side from the home to sell on like eBay, because she's trying to get enough money to send her talented brother, who's into like making videos, to a special private high school where he can really expand on the things that he's interested in, but also it helps to get him out of the town, this rundown town in Kentucky that is just basically crap. Well, what Opal doesn't expect is, beyond just falling in love with the house, she starts to like have a thing for Arthur and discovers that there are secrets about this house and there's some things going on, and she's not really sure what to think about that, but it's up to her and Arthur to maybe save the place. But in order to do that, they have to dig up the past, and what they find in the past is, or what Opal finds in the past, is very disturbing to her. Again, I really enjoyed it. If you like fantasy and like magic and that sort of thing, I think you would like this story as well. Trigger warnings again for death, and I think there might have been abuse in the book as well. I can't remember for certain, but definitely check trigger warnings on it. All right, the next book I read was The Frozen River. And this book, I absolutely loved this book. So we're in the 1700s. We're in Maine. We're following a midwife. Her name is Martha Ballard. She is a midwife in this small town, and she's married to Ephraim. They have a bunch of kids together, and one day she is called from a home where she is delivering a baby because they need her to look at a body to decide if the person was murdered, or if they died of like natural causes because they were dragged out of the river. Turns out she believes that he was murdered, that he was beaten, and then he was hanged. And the town had hired this doctor that she didn't know about, and he came in and he says the opposite. He doesn't believe that he was murdered. He thinks it was just a freak thing, like accidental or natural causes or whatever. Well, Martha doesn't believe that. Now this man is he's not a nice man, the man that's dead. He was accused of raping the pastor's wife along with the judge in the town. I think his name was like Judge North or something. He was also accused of doing this. And it's kind of funny that all of a sudden one of the rapists is murdered, whereas the other one is still running around. And of course he's denying that he raped this poor woman. So Martha isn't happy with what's going on, and she starts digging around to try to figure out what really happened to the man that they pulled out of the river. And I want to say his name is Joshua, but I can't be certain. It was a little bit ago when I read the book, and I've been sick since, so I'm not really sure. But if you like mystery, if you like historical fiction, if you like following along with the family, and really become invested in characters, then I think that this could be a book for you. There's a lot that happens. There are serious trigger warnings for rape scenes, murder, attempted rape, but I mean, it's based on a true story, like a real midwife in Maine at this time. And I read the author's note or something, and I think she said that 75% of this book was true and the rest of it she had made up. But it was such a fantastic read. I'm so glad that I read it. I couldn't recommend it more. I think maybe this was my favorite book that I read this month. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It was also a book of the month pick that I had a while ago. So 5 stars all the way. All right. The next book that I read was this one, and it is called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it looks like a children's book. It's not. I mean, it can be a children's book, but it can definitely be an adult book as well. It's got beautiful, simple drawings in it. And it's just, I don't even know how to describe this book. All right, so my camera cut out. I don't know where it left off, so I'm going to read the back of this book, what Elizabeth Gilbert said about it. She said, "The world that I'm required to inhabit is this one, but the world that I long to inhabit is the one that's been created in this book." And yes, absolutely. I don't even know how to describe this book. If you enjoy things that make you think, or that are self-help like, or have little tidbits of wisdom, or full of quotes or whatever, then this is definitely a book for you. I'll read you this double page here, and it'll kind of give you a feel for what the book is. It says, "Do you have any other advice?" asked the boy. "Don't measure how valuable you are by the way you are treated," said the horse. "Always remember you matter. You're important and you are loved. And you bring it to this world things no one else can." Again, this is the drawing. And yeah, this book is a lot of stuff like that. You can see that I've tabbed it up quite a bit. I love it. I think everybody should own this book. I've read this book twice now, and I still love it just as much as when I read it the first time. So yeah, if you want a feel-good book, if you want something that you can dip in and out of, boost of confidence, a little self-love, definitely give this book a go. All right, and I think it's the last book I read. I'm looking down at my notebook again. Yes, the last book I read was from an author, and I'm going to read you the blurb on Goodreads. It is called Secondhand Rose, and the author is, I think her name is Deborah Fox. So if you go to Goodreads and you type in Secondhand Rose D.E.Fox, you will find the book. It's a short story. It's a horror. I'm not a horror reader, which is what I had told her when I agreed to read this book. But I can see where a lot of people would like it if you want a quick horror story. So it says, Abigail Hurst, a city reporter, returns to her hometown to take over Secondhand Rose, antique store, following the sad passing of her beloved grandmother Rose. This new life seems perfect for Abigail and her trusted terrier, Jake. until she starts to notice strange, gruesome deaths and mysterious disappearances are catching up with this chocolate box town named Friendship. As Abigail dips deeper into her investigation, time is quickly running out for the fate of the whole town, but only facing up to her own dark past can she truly help Friendship and the people she loves most. So I gave a review for it, and this is what I had said. I said, I really wish Goodreads had half stars because I would give this a 2.5 star rating, but instead I will mark it as a 3 star. I thank the author for giving me a copy of this digital book for an honest review. I said I was really excited to hear that this book was her way of dealing with the death of her beloved dog, Jake. I really did enjoy his character throughout the story. All right, this is what my review said, and it's short and sweet. This is a hard one for me because I do not tend to read horror. So with that being said, I'm not sure that this book was entirely for me. I enjoyed parts of the story, such as the small town feel, the human characters, the second chance romances, the mystery, and how most of the story involved the dog, Jake. I also really like the idea behind the story of the perfect town where the bad people are weeded out. That said, this is also where I struggled with the book because of the horror element. I'm not a fan of body horror or gruesome details, but I know this is not my type of story. I'm sure people who love horror would get along just fine with these things I have discussed. If you're looking for a quick read in the horror genre, then definitely give this one a go because I do not think you will be disappointed. I stand by that completely. So, like Goodreads says, you're following Abigail. She comes back to her small hometown where everything seems to be perfect. And she opens up this antique store. She decides she wants to change things around, and it all starts off with this wardrobe that is blocking the window, and not a lot of light can get into the store. So she gets some people to help her move the wardrobe, and the wardrobe is locked. Like, she can't seem to get it open at all. She can't find a key, and when she uses tools to try to open it, the tools break, which is weird, right? So she gives up on it for a bit, and all of a sudden the wardrobe opens one day, and there's this like coolness in the air around her, and this voice keeps telling her to leave the wardrobe alone, to not worry about it, to leave things be. Well, of course that creeps her out more, and so she attempts to open it again, and she continues to receive warnings, and this figure appears from the wardrobe, which is the evil figure that is kind of running this town and weeding out the bad people in the town or the useless people in the town. And he has kind of gathered people to keep his secret on how to keep the town perfect, and it just so happened that her grandmother was one of the people that he had gathered, along with the sheriff and some other people. So those select few know what's going on with the missing people in the town and how the town is staying so perfect. And if you like stuff like that, if you like mystery, if you like horror and all that, I think that you really would enjoy this book. There are some good characters in it. I enjoyed the dog. Hold on, I get a cough. Okay, I'm back. I enjoyed the dog, like I had said. I liked watching his relationship with Abigail. It's a short story, so of course things move really quick. And there is a character in the book that Abigail had dated in her youth, and he ended up cheating on her, and he is brought back into her life when she comes back to this town. So you get to see their relationship develop. And it's not like a long development, because it is a short book. I think it's like 100 and some odd pages. So it goes by quick, but yeah, if you don't mind gruesome details and body horror and things like that, and you want a quick horror read, give this one a go. It's got some, I guess I would call the evil man kind of magical or ghostly, or I don't know. He's something. He's not fully human anyways. But yeah, so those are the books that I read in the month of March. Again, I apologize for not having a video up last week. I almost didn't do one this week, so I apologize that it's so scattered, and I've probably said a lot and probably didn't sell these books very well, but I just didn't not want to have a book up. I'm hoping to feel better soon. Monday is the eclipse, so I know we're going to be chasing that because my husband is a huge space nerd, so he's very excited about it. And this month has already started out. April's already started out to be a good reading month. I've already finished 1 or 2 books. 1 book. Today's the 6th. So yeah, I'm already like a book and a half through. It's turned out to be a good month. Despite the blizzard that we just got the other day. We're not going to talk about that because normally I like snow, but we're in April now and I want sunshine and warm weather. So yeah, we're not really getting that right now. It's raining as I speak. But anyways, I hope everybody's having a good reading month. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you're going to pick any of these up. And I guess if I were to recommend any to pick up this month out of all of them, definitely this one. I loved this one so much. All right. Until next time, everybody, happy reading and talk with you soon. Bye.